Oh, hello and welcome to Sacred Wealth Live. We made it. We're thrilled to be here. And I say we because I have a special guest. You can see the beautiful Meagan Ruppert with me here today. Hi. And we're going to get into her brilliance here. And she's going to share that with you because today we're talking about how to stop struggling with your shadow. This month, if you've been tuning in this month, we have been talking about the shadow energy because of the time of the year we're in. Also, we're going into this darker time. And the more time in the dark, there's just more time in the shadows, and our shadow can show up more. Now, that's a beautiful thing because, I want you to welcome every part of you into the party of your life. And if there's parts of us that we're denying or pushing away, whether that's your gift or whether that's your shadow, that is going to hold you back in some way. It's going to cause you frustration, struggle. And it's really energetic currency, power that you have that's locked in a vault and that you don't have access to it. And in fact, with your shadow, it's like power that's actually moving in the wrong direction. So last week we were talking about how to use the power of gratitude to break through your shadow. But today, I specifically want to get into how to stop struggling with your shadow and how to actually move past your shadow by bringing it into the light. And that is what all we need to have happen with the shadow. Hi, welcome everybody who's hopping on now. We're just really thrilled that you're here. You can let us know you're here. You can make any comments you want, whether you're here on the replay. I'm going to come back and answer questions and also, throw us some likes and some hearts just so that we know that you're here. And we are going to take your questions. So as we're connecting and talking about the shadow here today, go ahead and pop your questions in there and we'll definitely get to that as well. So without further ado, I want to introduce Meagan to you, and Meagan and I are going to have a really juicy conversation that you're going to be a part of. Okay. So your comments are totally completely welcome. So Meagan is a visionary coach. She is a conscious online marketing strategist. Well, not just an online marketing strategist. We're just going to call her a marketing strategist. She has fully embraced her gifts as a marketer. That is actually part of her Sacred Wealth Code. And we're going to dive into how she came to stand in the light and is really activating more of her gifts because of that. So hello and welcome, my dear.
Hi, Prema. So wonderful to be here.
That's thrilled to have you here with us. So, Meagan, tell us about how you knew that you must be in the shadow in some way. What were and specifically, take us back to before you realized that it was your shadow you were struggling with. And then I'll walk you through some conversation around to get us up to date with where the magnificent place you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of places, there's a lot of things that happen, but essentially, if I, give you kind of like an outlook on the last year, because it's been so transformational, is that I have been working as a purpose coach and helping women to, really embrace their gifts and find the gifts that they have within themselves and break through their mindset and really come to a place of trusting themselves. And that felt so right and real for me. My clients were getting amazing results. I really loved doing it. And yet there was something that was not connecting. Like I was putting so much energy and like loving energy and aligned energy out there, but I wasn't getting the return of everything that I was putting out there. And it happened over and over and over again. And, I'd turn to Prema and be like, what is going on? I don't understand. So a lot of frustration, but feeling like, okay, I guess this is just part of what it is. So that's where I was.
Well, and let's pause you for just a moment there, because there's a couple things that are really important about that. One is that sometimes when you're completely on purpose, and this has happened to me too, and things can seem like, okay, they're not moving right now. Sometimes that is because of the soul cycle you're running, the timing that you're, that divine timing. And it doesn't always mean that it's time to quit. It doesn't always mean that you're you're completely off track. It's kind of like when I had my yoga center, and I was on purpose in a lot of ways, but I wasn't fully embracing my gifts and I wasn't fully on purpose. Think about it this way. You're driving down the road. This is the path of your life. You cannot be off the path of your life. You can't. It is your life. It is your path. Now, you can be not very well placed on the path. You can be off in the rubble on the side and like when you hit my dad calls them the turtles in the middle of the road, they keep you can be hitting the turtles. You can be over in the rough, in the gravel. And especially like the gravel sometimes has that slope that, goes all the way down and there's a fence at the bottom and you can just kind of be stalled out there. But you're not off your path, meaning you always can get more well-placed on your path. So it's not that Meagan was completely off her path. She just wasn't well placed. There are times though, and this is why like with my clients that I'm just feel so honored to get to support and work with, sometimes we can tell this is just a challenging time, or when I'm giving you all an energy update saying, okay, this is not what it's going to be forever. Right now, we've got some speed bumps in the road that are causing us to slow down, but it won't last forever. So I'm curious for anyone, do you feel like you are absolutely stuck or not well placed on your path? Or do you feel like you're completely off your path? Because if you feel that way, you're probably hiding in the shadows even more so. Okay. And we'll get into that. So I want to come back to Meagan right now. So in that place where you were frustrated, but you knew that at some level you were on purpose. And as as Meagan's guide and coach, and again, just an honor to be that, we kept clearing the patterns that were coming up. And there was a lot of healing that happened for you. So when you're in the shadow, I believe that it's hard to look at and say what's bad and what's good. Like look back over the last year, 2 years. What's been bad? What's been good? At some point, it seemed like that was a bad thing you're going through, but now you see the good in it. So what was the good in that you can see now in you sort of bumping up against yourself and being frustrated in this place that you were in with things not moving forward like you really thought they should be?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so much good in it. And I remember the exact moment where it all finally clicked for me, where I think I probably like sent you a text or something. And I was like everything I'd been doing, I was coming to the end of this sales period. And I was like, I let it all fall down. I mean, I did everything that I needed to do to finish strong. And at the end of it, I was like, well, with a smile on, I'm like, I did everything. And now I see like, I need to go and get a job, like full transparency. I was just like, I need to figure this out. And in that moment, it was like, I gave myself this space of freedom where I realized I don't have to keep pushing. I don't have to keep bumping up against this wall. And so I could see where all of those opportunities of bumping up against the wall, it was like Spirit was saying, hey, here's an opportunity for you. And, because I was afraid to embrace the other side, which I'm sure we'll get to in a few minutes, is that, I had that fear of embracing that side. I was hiding it in the shadows, and I was so kind of had my blinders on about who I was supposed to be and how I was supposed to show up that, I just kept bumping up against that wall until that critical moment where I finally said, okay, there's something here for me.
Okay. And we'll get to the I want to say it's like that. It wasn't pushing through. It was literally like you could be pushing against the wall and you're not going to move a brick wall, but there is a moment where the seas part. There's a moment where you're just able to walk through the door with ease and grace. And that's because of her perception changed. But before we get there, let's talk about where you were actually stuck in the shadow. So I'm going to share some of Meagan's Sacred Wealth Code archetypes, because when the archetypes downloaded for me, it was equally important for me to write about and share with you about and teach about the shadow side as all the gifts, because we live in a world of contrast on the physical plane. And, a lot of times when someone asks you, like, what do you want? What do you tell them? You tell them a lot of what you don't want. And that's that contrast. And when we know what we don't want, then that also gives us a place to pivot from to sort of decide what it is we do want. The mind, from survival over many years, and this is not the conscious spiritual part of our mind, this is more the lizard brain mind, looks for the negative. It looks for, out of survival, old biological survival, what are we losing? What don't we have? So that's a natural thing. And so it's okay if you're seeing what you don't want. And then that also lets you, open up to what it is you do want. So Meagan has a grounded healing marketer, which she has really stepped into, and I highly suggest that you connect with her. And I will be putting her link in with this replay here, so that you'll be able to connect in with her if you're looking for someone to really help you consciously market your great gifts out here out in the world. She has also a wise visionary teacher. And that's that part of her that was really stepping forward as a visionary coach, helping people, really understand what their purpose is and break through their barriers there. And she's also got a spiritual engineer / muse. She knows how to create a vehicle, a structure, and tune into her intuition, and have a lot of passion, but also knows how to do the mechanics of things and build a vehicle to get a message across. Well, in the shadow side of the teacher, for instance, the teacher has a shadow side that can be a know-it-all and can also be very controlling. It can also have a very strong manipulative quality, but I want to say it was the know-it-all and the controlling aspect that was really showing up also in the engineer. And the engineer is ruled by Mars, and Mars also rules the honorable warrior, the strategist, and the engineer. Now, Mars is a strong, tough planet. I mean, thank God for Mars. Mars is decisive, says like, let's get this done. Let's do it now. But Mars can also push. Mars can push really hard. And then the Muse was getting some airplay for Meagan, but she wasn't able to fully hear her Muse because her Mars was pushing, like, no, we said we're doing it this way, and let's push this baby up that hill and keep pushing. And she has the fortitude and the strength to be able to do that. I've got a strong engineer in my Sacred Wealth Code too, and I know that, and so I make sure that my engineer is always the last to get the project. Because if I give the project to the engineer first, the engineer is going to work me to death. It's just going to work me way too hard, where then the engineer is only building the vehicle for what we actually need it to. Otherwise, we're working the energy from the inside out, and a lot of magic happens in that. So that overdoing and self-judging shadow side is part of the engineer. There's other things that were going on. And look, we're all sort of straddling our shadow and our gifts. And again, because we're living in a world of contrast. And the good thing about knowing about your shadow and really welcoming it in, it's a part of you that's like, maybe like you don't really know. And if you know that part of you, like think about a person in your family, maybe we're in the holidays, that, okay, every time I see my mom, or every time I see Aunt Susie, or every time, I see my brother, or whatever it is, there's a part of them that always pushes your buttons. And once you really know that person, and you know how to avoid that pushing of your buttons, because you bring it into consciousness and you're able to see what's good in the relationship there. It's kind of the same thing with your shadow. So you really want to know what buttons it pushes. And those are places just to keep healing, and they'll help you expand more into your gifts. And then when you get trapped there, you want to just have a really good sense of humor. Otherwise, you'll beat yourself up and cry a lot. Okay. And I've certainly been there, and Meagan's been there too. Okay. And I know that you've been there in some way. So Meagan, that when you had that aha moment, and again, we had been clearing patterns for Meagan, we had also been strategizing. I knew as her guide that she needed to continue to walk this path that she laid for herself, because she had a huge amount of, I want to say, confidence in doing it. And there was a reason she needed to take herself all the way through this. And in that, you absolutely developed a few really strong qualities. And I'd like you to speak into a couple of the qualities that, even though you had to push, and you found out okay, this didn't turn out the way I think it should have, but it actually got to you where you are now. What were a couple of the things that you really learned that was really useful for you in that process?
Well, definitely my strength. I mean, and Prema, you know well that I have pushed myself through some very extenuating circumstances for sure. So it was definitely a reminder of, how powerful I was, but also that it was like I could embrace the fact that I could be all of who I was. I didn't have to hide, I didn't feel like I needed to hide myself anymore, because when you're hiding yourself, you're compartmentalizing parts of your life. And it's you can share this story with this group and share this story with this group. And you can't be in the fullness of who you are with everyone. And, it wasn't so much that I was lying. It just, I just didn't know how to embrace all of who I was. And so all of that really brought me to this place of saying, okay, I can fully be who I am. I can fully embrace who I am and still be exactly who I am in that.
And I know that sounds redundant in a way, but really, if I can just tease that out a little bit, we can be the many flavors that we are in different flavors in different days and in different areas of our lives. A lot of some of the ways that our shadow will show up and even our gifts will show up, we don't know until we just keep moving forward. We allow ourselves to be seen. We trust our intuition. We get that intuitive hit and we actually do it. Meagan got the intuitive hit to she was at the moment of okay, I need to get a job. And in that, talk about how you realized your gifts as the marketer and that you maybe hadn't, in a way you were refining those gifts through the process actually, but you hadn't been embracing them as your avenue of wealth.
Yeah. So I had been working as a marketer for many years before I got into coaching. And at one point I made the decision that's not what I do anymore. I'm a coach now. And so that was that know-it-all, definitely some ego playing in, of who I think I need to be. Right. And so all of a sudden it was wait, I know how to build funnels. I'm an amazing copywriter. I know how to sell. I've been doing ads and doing amazing jobs with them and really driving my business forward and my clients' business forwards. And all of a sudden I could see how I'd actually been blocking so many opportunities to support other people in this more aligned way, because I didn't have to be who I thought I was supposed to be anymore, which was, this coach and this person. And that's still totally a part of who I am. Absolutely. And I love that part of myself. But now I'm there's so much more room for me to play because I get to help other people, and marketing is so fun for me. And I realized how much I truly geek out on it. and yet I've just been kind of shoving it down. So I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. And then also take us to the moment of when you, and we're going to get into some how-to steps for those of you tuning in. And again, keep the questions coming. We've got Meagan Rocks, which Meagan absolutely does rock. And how do we know what our gifts are and what gifts we have? I'm going to answer that absolutely. So hang in for just a few moments. You can take the Sacred Wealth Code Archetype quiz. Getting a Sacred Wealth Code reading is super helpful. I'll drop those links in, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. When you actually embraced, okay, I know I can make money as a marketer, and you started to look for a job, and you and I had a conversation then, and everything sort of flipped at that point, and then you were able to open up a whole other branch of your company and what's transpired because of that. So share that with us.
Yeah. So the realization I had to get a job. So I remember literally going online and looking, and I was oh, I don't know if that's really the direction I want to go in. And so I was okay, I'm just listening. And so I dropped it to a couple of people that I knew were connected to people who could potentially use my services. And I just let them know, hey, I'm exploring this other side. So, and all of a sudden, everything shifted. I got one referral that led to another referral that led to another referral. And all of a sudden, like my business like this new division of my company just was born in a flash. And it was like, all of a sudden I could just employ all these parts of myself that it was like, I didn't even need to dust them off. They were all there the whole time and I was using them, but now I was able to use them in a whole new way. And I could remove myself from it and be able to serve other people in that way. And so all of a sudden, like my business took off. I was charging higher rates than, I'd charged ever before. I was owning my worth in a way that I had not allowed myself to do as a coach. And it was so freeing. I mean, Prema knows so well how, the worth thing has been a real challenge for me. And all of a sudden I just was owning it, and without a doubt, like no problem, no flinching when I made an offer. And it's just been so freeing on so many levels. And it's completely infiltrated my entire life, my relationship, everything in such a short amount of time. It's just like, when you get on that tick, it just really changes everything.
I mean, the universe responded to you with thousands of dollars in a very short time. And that's a beautiful thing. Now, why did that happen? Is not only did Meagan finally realize that the value she had in the marketplace and looking at jobs helped her to see that, even though she didn't want to, she's an entrepreneur. She doesn't want to work for somebody else. I mean, that's not who she is. She's a leader and a teacher and a marketer. But then that allowed her to own her high value gifts. They're called high value for a reason. Those are the gifts that you have that are where your purpose and your prosperity intersect in your soul blueprint. That is where the world will actually value you, like give you high value. You have value for everything you do, absolutely everything. Many things that you're good at. But your highest value gifts are like this encoding, like your fingerprint is, that when you're embodying those, it sets off something in the world because you're unlocking something in the world. You're giving something that people can then see, like they didn't see before, and they can see, oh yeah, I see her value there and how that is valuable to me. And when you own that value first, you're going to get that reflected back. And in fact, in a lot of our work and in the Sacred Wealth Circle and the Business Academy, and Meagan's a VIP private client, we are always working with, and especially I see this with the feminine, with women, but I see it with men too, owning your value, really owning your value, because however much you value yourself is how much the world will reflect that value back to you. So when it comes to this breakthrough around how to step out of the shadows into the light, the process that Meagan went through on her own and us together was to keep noticing, okay, where am I stopped? Where am I blocked? And then we would break through those patterns. She would break through the ones she could on her own. I would help her break through the ones that she couldn't break through. And then we would take an inspired action to integrate what breakthrough she had and what she learned. So how does that translate to you? Where do you feel blocked right now? Okay, 2 questions. If you are really honest with yourself, if you really tell yourself the truth, and actually write this down, if I tell myself the truth, this is the back door into your soul. And you will not ask yourself this question all the time, because unless you're ready to hear the truth and then take action on the truth, because it's too painful to not take action on the truth, you might not be willing to ask this question because you're not ready to really know. So if you even go like, I don't even want to ask that question, Prema, good information for you to have. It's not bad. It's not wrong. I want you to warm up to it. So if you tell yourself the truth, where are you hiding in the shadows now? Is it, you are, like I was working with the inner critic and the martyr energy in the Sacred Wealth Circle this last month, helping people to really step past this part of the shadow. Where are you negating your gifts? Are you being controlling, manipulative? Are you in that place of, think you already know? Are you craving recognition? Are you looking for love in all the wrong places or recognition in all the wrong places? Are you actually stepping out with your your high value gifts, like what you're really brilliant at. And even if you don't know your sacred wealth code, I guarantee you, you know, if there's something you're really brilliant at and you're not using it. When I had my yoga center, I was teaching yoga. I had my own system of yoga. I was doing astrology readings. I was doing private work. I was running a whole business with a whole team. And I wasn't fully using my brilliance. I was doing some things that I was good at. I was stuck in the shadow side of controlling, of my Saturn energy, of doing administration. I'm really good. I've been hired to administrate in companies. It's not my highest value gifts. It wears me out. I was not coming up front with the intuitive that I am, with the leader I am as around spirituality and what I can do as a Vedic astrologer and the energy clearer and healer I am. Those are the parts that I was still afraid to show. So I was leaning on the parts that were tried and true and people told me I was good at because it was safe. But you know, if you're doing that, if you're worn out, if you're tired, if you're frustrated and you feel like you're still struggling. And one of the big ones, if you know that you're not actually following your intuition, like you're denying that. So where's that showing up for you? And I want you to think of your shadow as a younger part of yourself that's just stuck in a room somewhere and doesn't fully realize how brilliant you are and what you're capable of. And it's just because of something that's happened, a trauma, something maybe someone said to you, even a teacher, a parent, and you just don't really know how amazing you are. And literally, you just want to put your arm around that part of yourself and you want to take one step into the light. How do you do that? You take one step into using the gifts that part of you has. So for instance, let's just use Megan's example. The teacher part of Meagan that was trying to control things a little bit too much. Okay. The other side, on the gift side, I mean, that she's incredibly knowledgeable. That's like part of her, and she's always learning and always knowledgeable. The more she steps into, for instance, that knowledge, the more stepping into being as inspiring as she could be. Some of her gifts as a teacher, the more she's stepping out of the shadow. Now, yes, there's patterns to clear. I can't do that all for you here today, but I guarantee you, if you're willing to step into, just start using one of your gifts. So whatever part you feel like is your shadow and is holding you back right now, look at the flip side of it. It's like a stick. There's two ends of it. One of them is that controlling end, maybe. And so what is the other side of that end? What is the gift that you're denying? How do you know? Close your eyes, take a deep breath, tell yourself the truth. What's the gift that I'm denying that would allow me to take even just one step out of the shadow into the light? Because the world needs what you have to give more than ever right now. Whatever comes up for you, that's that intuitive hit. That's your soul speaking to you. And if you will listen to that and then take action on that, you will start to step into the light and you will also get that reflected back to you. So one of the ways that you can do that is then to ask yourself, what's an inspired action that I can take that would support myself in using this gift? Just work with one thing at a time. So if you didn't really actually follow me and do that, close your eyes, put your hand on your heart. What's one inspired action that I could take that would support me in using this gift? And if Meagan, you want to tune in and do an example for us, that would be super great. So what's one way you can step out of the shadow even more and step into a gift? And what's one inspired action you could do to do that?
Of course, I'm struggling to tune in today.
You take a moment. I'm going to read a question while you're there. So I've got Mary here saying, I've been told all my life that I have no talents. Wow. That actually just brings tears to my eyes. All my life, from being small up to today. But I love history and helping people, but I hold back from that. Okay, Mary. First of all, I want to send you a lot of love and compassion for what you've been told, because it's not the truth. It's not the truth. And the fact that you love history and helping people, and that's come up for you. Now I want to invite you what's one way that you can, first of all, I just want you to dive into just studying more history and just really eating it up and enjoying it. Okay. And what's one inspired action you could take to use your love and knowledge about history to help people? Okay. So you tune into that and you can type that in for us. And I want you all to trust whatever comes up, whether that's, oh, I could write a Facebook post. Oh, I should call so-and-so. Maybe I should send so-and-so an email. Maybe I should just read this book. Just trust that because it'll lead you to the next step. So Meagan, what came up for you?
Yeah, just to share this with my community, like those who've been watching my unfolding as a coach, to really own this and share what I'm going through, because the controlling part of me would love to, pretend that everything is perfect and that I didn't go through this massive breakdown to break through, but to open up to that and share it as a beautiful lesson to inspire others to step into their own light.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. So, this is what I would, I'm going to go ahead and ask Meagan to do this. So what's the one action you're going to take to actually do that?
I am going to post that into my Facebook group.
Okay. Okay. So what I just did with Meagan is I asked her to drill it down and really bring it down to the essence, really bring it down to an actual practical step, because the people I work with, like you yourselves tuning in, are very conscious. And the gap you have to close is between what you know and what you're embodying and doing. And in fact, I'll be doing an update about the full moon, and that's really calling us into embodiment of what we're learning currently through this moon cycle and the new moon that's just passed, coming out of our fear, stepping into our vulnerability. Now we need to ground that in our bodies. I'll come back with that later in the week. I'm not going to go into that right now, but you've got to take that practical action. That brings it down into embodiment. Otherwise, we're going to have this conversation again, and we're going to have it again, and you're going to have it with yourself again. And it's going to stay in this realm of conversation. You've got to bring it from soul down to the soles of your feet. You've got to be able to take action on it. If this is making sense for you, throw us some hearts. Let us know what's making sense for you as well, because it's really great to be able to, it's an honor to serve you. And by you even acknowledging that, again, if I can get you to take a physical action, even if it's just sharing this or throwing a heart that says, okay, yes, there's something in that's true for me. So you want to take those practical actions, no matter how big or small they seem, because that will take it into embodiment. Here's the beautiful thing. You don't need to know it all. You don't need to know every step. You just need to know the next step. Because if you know the next step, then you're going to, then you take that step and the next one will be revealed. You and the controlling part of you will hold back. Those of you who've got control going on, guess what? We all have control going on. That controlling part of you will want to know all the steps. And the fact is that each choice you make is going to open up a new set of choices. So if you're willing to take that one step at a time, so useful. So useful for you. So useful. So let me just tune in with got a couple more things here. We've got Bianca is saying you have the inspired action. Wonderful. Thank you. A big spiritual blog found one of my pieces on the Elephant Journal and reached out to me asking me to submit a piece. Congratulations. I joined an author's mastermind to start writing my own book and on healing hyperthyroid, but I know I'm still keeping my writing in the shadow potentially as a copywriter, which is scary to say. Thank you for saying what's scary to say here. You're held in look, we can't do this alone. We've got to do this together. And you're held in the right place. And we can all hold that for you. And I want to really support you in writing your book. I wrote my book this last year, and it's a big mountain to climb, but it's completely and totally worth it. So if you could just give yourself the inspired action of cutting out 15 minutes a day, half an hour, 3 days a week, something super simple, and just show up, and this work that really wants to come through on hypothyroid, just give it some space to in the privacy of just you getting to know that part of you to come forward for you. So Meagan, anything else you want to leave everybody? This has just been so fabulous and so great to have your brilliance here. But anything else you want to leave everybody with today?
Yeah, just know that no matter how challenging things may get, to not back down, like just keep moving through it and the answers will come for sure. And it'll be amazing when they do.
And also, would you talk to them a moment about the importance of community?
Oh my gosh. I would not be where I am if I didn't have the support of Prema, of, my own sisters, just the entrepreneur friends that I have to remind us of how far we have truly come, and how important our goals truly are and how much our work is needed. There's no way to get where you want to go if you're trying to figure it out alone.
It's imperative, and we are not meant to do it alone. One of the other things about community is that you will not help but be able to use your gifts. Like in my Sacred Wealth Circle, somebody posts a question or they're needing help, and before I can get to it and one of my coaches can get to it, which we will, the community is already so brilliant and has all their gifts. They're right in there. And so your gifts in a safe space will come forward even more because it's safe. So you need to have a community for that. That's like-minded, like-hearted, because it'll just draw it out of you in a safe way, and you'll give it freely. And then, if you're ready to wrap a business around it, or a movement around it in some way, then that can be the next step, and we can help that. So love you too, Jennifer. Love all of you. So thrilled to be here with you. If you're on the replay, come back and comment. We'll come back and interact with you. If you are looking to have some conscious marketing help in your business right now, I'll be putting Meagan's links in with the replay here. Meagan, tell them where they can find you.
So my website, which is still being overhauled with this new awakening, but you can visit ascendingcircles.com, or you can just go ahead and shoot me a private message as well.
Yeah, you can just go ahead and PM her as well. Absolutely. Or if you know anybody who's really looking for someone who really gets them and wants to help them get their message out there. Meagan's helping me in some of my marketing right now too. And I'm really grateful to have her now that she's stepped into this. She's got room. It's awesome. It's awesome. So thanks so much for being here today. It's an honor. It's a privilege. So much love to all of you. If this has resonated, share this around so other people can get this great message about stepping out of the shadow. And I'll pop back on probably, new moon is on the 3rd, so I'll be jumping on before then to give you guys an update about the new moon as well. Okay? So much love to all of you. Thank you, Meagan.
Bye. Thank you.